Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with a Total War Warhammer 3 DLC speculation video. Today we'll be looking towards the Empire, specifically the Imperial province of Middenland, so without further ado, let's begin. While the Empire has already received a decent amount of DLCs, we're still a way off from actually considering them complete, at least in my eyes. You see, the different Imperial provinces do actually vary quite a bit. Right now we've received most of the generic units that form its basic standing armies, but there are also provincial specific units. They can vary quite drastically depending on each provincial culture and customs. And out of all of them that have yet to be implemented in Total War Warhammer, if they are implemented into Total War Warhammer, it is the province of Middenland that stands out the most. They are a strong and hardy folk who are very famous on using great hammers in combat. Like many Imperials, their faith is also strong, but it is not Sigmar they pray to, but rather an older god known as Ulrich, the god that Sigmar himself prayed to. Middenland was a popular faction in Warhammer Fantasy 6th edition, especially since they had a large role to play in the 6th edition supplement known as the Storm of Chaos, which many consider to be the original End Times. Here they had a special army created for them, and if it's the case that Toddy does get his day in Total War Warhammer, it's more than likely that some, if not all of the units listed here, might actually accompany him as a DLC pack. So let's start checking out the armies. First we have a rather iconic unit, which is a knightly order. These are the Knights of the White Wolf, heavily armoured, great weapon wielding cavalry. No lancers needed here. You don't really need them because you're just charging in with a giant hammer and hitting everything out of the way. These would play in a very identical sense to how you would normally use the Bretonnian questing knights. Great weapons, heavily armoured horses, and just charge straight in. Next we look towards the Warriors of Ulrich, which more or less are a basic core unit. Originally they were actually considered special, but they're not very good in close combat in terms of weapon skill and so on. They did have a variety of weapons though. They could either use a sword and shield, additional hand weapons, or great weapons, which would be an interesting different go-to core unit instead of going for the standard swordsman, halberdiers, spearmen, and so on. Unfortunately this unit did not have an official model back in the day. You instead had to kit bash that. The same could be said about the Wolfkin, who also did not have an official model and had the same equipment as the Warriors of Ulrich. The Wolfkin themselves were treated as a basic skirmishing unit instead of a rank and file unit, so it's more than likely that if they get added into the game they'll have vanguards so they can scout ahead. While we're at it, a big thank you to Shaun from the Elector Counts podcast for reminding me that these two units did not have any official models, so it's more than likely that we'll have to see them being created from scratch. There's loads of possibilities here, and they might even change out the armor and loadout. But moving swiftly on, we move on to the Hunting Hounds. Yeah, we've seen Hounds in many Total War games before, and maybe it's about time we saw it in Total War Warhammer. These are fast-moving skirmisher units which you can use to pick out any stragglers, misplaced war machines, and the like. And lastly, we have the tutored Guard. These are heavily armoured foot soldiers with great weapons, powerhouses in close combat, and many actually consider them to be the Empire's equivalent to the Warriors of Chaos. In truth, they do have a very Northman vibe to them. The model looks great, and yeah, I've played against them before. They're absolutely awesome. There weren't that many unique units implemented into this army list, so I think that's actually good enough for a basic standing for a DLC pack. In most cases, DLCs give us a small amount of new units to actually use, and yeah, this I think works out quite well. But now we move on to the Lords and Heroes choices, with the first being the Priest of Ulrich. Essentially, this is actually a reskin of the Warrior Priest. It is a Warrior Priest after all, just not with the worship of Sigmar and choosing Ulrich instead. The Priests of Ulrich have their own battle prayers, which are as follows. First is Battle Howl, which essentially makes the unit move D3 movement forward, but I see it here being repurposed as a leadership buff. Next is Destruction, which is a small AoE damage spell. Nothing too great, but if your priest is trapped within a horde, it does a decent amount of damage. The third prayer is known as Winter's Chill, which forces the enemy to take a leadership test, or they suffer -1 to hit. Here I think it would probably just reduce leadership for enemies. And the last prayer is Fury of Ulrich, where the priest and any unit he leads becomes immune to fear, terror, and panic tests. Here I would probably see it as he could cast it onto a single unit and on himself. Next is a Lord choice, which is the Grand Master of the Knights of the White Wolf, but I don't think we'll actually get this as a Knights of the White Wolf Grand Master. Instead, I believe we'll get generic Grand Masters, cavalry-based heroes which buff up cavalry, possibly boosting their damage, their armor, and so on as you level up the hero itself. This might be interesting for those who want to play pure cavalry armies but don't want to play as Bretonnia. And now lastly we have 3 named characters on this list. the first one being Seneschal of the White Wolf, which for all intents and purposes is a Knight of the White Wolf, so I don't think we'll actually get him as a actual unique character. And now we look towards the High Priest, our Ulrich Emil himself. You can consider this character the Ulrichian equivalent to the Empire's Volkmar the Grim. But the R. Ulrich does not need a fancy little wagon pulling him around. Instead, he is a close combat lord that likes to go on foot and joins his fellow Ulrichians into battle. He would have all the battle prayers listed before, but also be a powerhouse in close combat. Unfortunately, his big special rule was favor of the White Wolf, which helped him dispel magic, so I'm not too sure how they'd be able to implement this into the game. One possible way to go about this is if he's on the battlefield, enemies might have a 5% chance of miscasting. Also, I don't think the R. Ulrich would be the legendary lord of this pack. Instead, I think he'd come as an FLC lord, due to the fact that we only get one legendary lord per faction when it comes to a lord pack, and that spot would probably go to our next character, Boris Todbringer himself. So we've seen him already in the game, he's already there, he just needs to be changed up a little bit, given some unique quests, and there you go, he's playable. However, there's also some special items that he's also missing, such as the Talisman of Ulrich, which is basically something that just gives him regeneration. This character's a fan favorite, so we don't have to dwell on this too much. Honestly, I expected the character playable already. Technically, he already is if you confederate with Middenland, but he's not really a starting character. But that's pretty much it in terms of unique units in regards to Middenland. What do you guys think? Have I missed anything out, or is there anything from any other supplements that you think should be added in instead? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and let's start a discussion. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord, where you can get in contact with the Great Book team. Also in the description section below, we have an affiliate link with Element Games, where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Purchasing using that link supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons, your support means the world to us. Honestly, it's amazing that people want to help a small channel grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to our patron Gibraltar LUSC for subscribing to us at our Fane level. Honestly, mate, you're super cool. And a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, commenting on these videos. The channel is growing at a really weird pace at the moment. It's growing really fast, faster than I expected, and it's really hard to keep up sometimes, but it's amazing to be able to talk to so many Warhammer fans across the globe, so for that I'm really thankful. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very soon. Have a good day.